Hello and welcome to another live English lesson here at AM Language. With me, Richie. I hope all of you are doing well and that that you're having a good week. Yesterday, we looked at the passive form and we looked at how we can put it together, the structure involved. But today, we're going to take it one step further. We are going to start looking at when to use the active and when to use the passive. So that is going to be our focus today. And that way we should end up having a better idea in terms of how to use it properly. Irina F., good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. As always, Privyet. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing well, Irina. Where I am in the world at the moment, it's cold. It is actually very cold at the moment. Roberto says good afternoon. Buon pomeriggio, Roberto. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you very much for joining. Hope you're doing well and Happy New Year. I think this is the first time I've seen you this week. So Happy New Year, Roberto. So I'll give people just a few more minutes before we jump straight into the lesson. Marta Poggio, welcome to today's lesson. Welcome back and good afternoon. Buono pomeriggio. Thank you for joining the lesson. I think you joined maybe yesterday's lesson as well, or maybe the day before. So yes, hope you're doing well. So guys, before I get into it, just to let you know what you can expect this year. So one of the things I'm hoping to do is to continue doing these daily live lessons. And I hope to be able to get to the point where I can improve the quality in terms of a visual element. But another thing you can expect this year is going to be something called short videos that you can expect not now, but in the very near future. Hopefully by the start of February, you should be able to see some more but short videos. That's what I'm currently working on. So come February, hopefully I'll be able to upload some of these short bite-sized videos that can give you the answer to some of your questions. Marta says, I see you always, but not at 3 o'clock. Fair enough, Marta. Thank you very much for watching, whether it's live or later as well. That's a point, actually. So anyone else who's watching, or if anyone is watching later, please make sure you join us in the live chat section, because that's where the interaction happens. That's where the action happens. So if you're not watching now, still look at the live chat section, because that's going to be important for you guys to follow. Okay, so let's get into it. We're just going to remind ourselves the difference between the active and the passive from yesterday, and then we'll get into it. So let's see here. Let's go with A. B. C. Okay, D. E. And finally, F. A simple question, which sentences are active and which are in the passive? Which one are in the active and which one are in the passive? I'll add voice at the end of it as well, just make a little, so it reads better. Okay, guys, so you've got A, B, C, D, E, and F. You guys need to tell me which ones are passive and which ones are active. And once we've done that, just so we remind ourselves from yesterday's lesson, we will then go on to today's lesson, where we're going to see when to use them, how we can do this. How can we make things better? Marta says, I think passive is B, C, D. B, C, D. So you're saying the car was bought. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I've realized something. There's something missing in that. Oh, nope, that's not what I want. Yes, the car was bought. We're missing a T. Apologies. There should be a T on the end of that. Bought. Okay, so you're saying B is the car was bought last week. C, the house is being bought by a couple from France. And D, 800 vaccines will be administered next month. Alida, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. We're just recapping yesterday's lesson before moving on to today's lesson. Roberto says B and C are passive. Irina F says A, D, E, and F are active. Okay. Right. So let's have a little look. Let's start off with active. Okay, so the answers. She had bought this car last week. Yes, that is. Hello, Evelina. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. So yeah, A is going to be an active sentence. Let's see. E is going to be an active sentence. And yep, those are the only two that are active. All the others, B, C, so passive voice. The answers here, okay. Passive voice, you've got the car was bought, the house is being bought, 800 vaccines, and F. So B, C, D, and F are all passive. So those are the answers from the first one. Don't forget, guys, when we use the passive, you are focusing on the subject, which isn't a doer. The active always says who's doing the action. That's what's important. And that leads me on to today's lesson. So just remind ourselves, actives. The sentence, when you use the active, the sentence is about the agent, okay, or the doer, the person or thing that causes the action. Passive, the subject, okay, is the focus, not the person or thing that causes the action. Okay, so that's a really important bit of information to make sure that we don't get confused. Okay, so the passive is the subject is the focus. Okay, not the person or thing that causes the action. So we'll start off light, and then we'll gradually make things a little bit more difficult. I know that we've got mixed levels here. If you watched yesterday's lesson, then today's lesson is going to be much easier. If you missed yesterday's lesson and you haven't looked at the passive before, this might be a bit difficult. So let's see how you guys do. I'm going to start off with this one. Okay, so which one makes sense? Which one which one makes sense? Okay, here we're going to look at instructions and information. Okay, which ones make sense when we're talking about instructions or information? Okay, one, two, three. Okay, four, five. And six. So what you'll find is some are passive, some are active. Here we're looking at instructions and information, things that you would expect to see in public. Which one would you use? Now, all of them, okay, you might look at this and think, wait a minute, all the sentences look correct. And you'd be right. All the sentences are correct, but some are passive and some are active. So in this case, do we use the passive or do we use the active? And let me know which ones are which. Okay. So you might say 3, 4, and 5 are the active, for example. And you might say we use the active just as an example. But you need to think, which ones do we use? Is it which sentences and what type of grammar are they? So it's not a question of the fact that all of them read correctly. The point is, when we are giving instructions or information, especially if it's to do with a service, do we use the passive or do we use the active? Alida says that she would use the passive, which would be 1, 2, and 3. Irina agrees that 1, 2, and 3 make up the passive, and 4 to 6 are active sentences. Roberto agrees as well that 1, 2, 3 are passive, and the passive would be better. I'll give you guys 30 more seconds in case anyone else wants to come in. Evelina says 1, 2, and 3 are passive. Okay, so the answer is as follows. So I'll do it like this, actually. So, oh, and Marta says, I don't know why To is passive, to me is active. Um, to the plane is delayed. The plane, well, the thing is here is the plane is the subject and it is delayed. We don't. This is a passive because we don't have any information about who the agent is, and the plane isn't the agent. So there's no mentioning of who does the action, and if it were an active, we'd have to put it at the start. So you can see that 2 goes with 5 in terms of the same meaning, but 5 is the active, 2 is the passive. So answer is going to be the passive, which are sentences 1, 2, and 3. So you guys can see here 1, 2, 3. The meaning of the words, the meaning of the sentences, 1 goes with 4, 2 goes with 5, and 3 goes with 6. But even though they've got the same meaning, when it comes to giving information, okay, or instructions, when it comes to a service, we're going to use the passive. So that's the first thing. Now let's look at the next thing. Let's go with this. Okay, email confirming job roles. Okay, which one do you think makes sense? 1. Okay, 3. 4. Okay, so you can see here, this time I've only given 4 sentences. Here we are confirming job roles, okay? Again, all the sentences are correct. Which ones are active? Which ones are passive? And when you want to confirm, okay, when you are talking about who's going to do what do you think is going to be more important? Do you think we're going to go with the active, or do you think it's going to be a passive? Alida says passive sounds better, 2 and 4. Marta Poggio says 1 and 3 are active. Are you saying, though, Marta, that active makes more sense in this case? Okay. The thing we need to be careful about here is this. Is the focus on who, or is the focus on what? And that's going to be the difference. If, okay, so Evelina says 1 and 3 are active. That looks good. Okay, guys, so I'm going to tell you the answer. If the focus is on who, then we need to go with the active, which are sentences 1 and 3. If the focus is on what, then we use the passive, which are sentences 2 and 3. So it depends on what the focus is. Remember this, if the focus is on who, then it's going to be an active. If the focus is on what, then we can go with the passive. Marta says, in my opinion, it sounds better active, but I suppose it depends on you want to focus on. Okay, yes, you just need what, on what you want to focus on. So this is a good example, guys. Depends on what you want to focus on. If the answer is, if you're talking about who, you're going to go with the active. If you're focusing on what, then you go with the passive. And that is a really important bit of information. If it's a what, it's probably a passive. If it's a who, then you're probably are going to focus on an active. Okay, let's move on to the next thing here. And here we're going to look at essays. Okay, formal writing. Let's have a little look. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 sentences here. Okay. And this is going to come into it when we write formally. Okay, so formal writing. In this case, it's going to be in the form of an essay. Okay. Option 1. Scientists classify gas as a solid. Okay, and in brackets, we're going to say our focus is on the subject, which is gas. Okay, I should point this out. Okay, glass. Sorry, glass. I'm just going to make this absolutely clear. Okay, so in what you're about to look at, okay, glass is the subject. So you've got option 1, scientists classify glass as a solid, or option 2, which is glass is classified as a solid. Which one is the better option? The focus is our subject is going to be glass. Do we go with number 1? Do we go with number 2? Okay, leaders come in with number 2. Let me know which one is the passive, by the way. Let me know which one is the passive. You're all going for 2 at the moment, which tells me that you guys clearly know what the answer is. Okay, all of you are going for 2. And yeah, 2 is the passive. So the answer here is, guys, answer is 2, which is a passive. Excellent. Well done. Off to a good start. Now let's look at this this next one, okay? We're going to go with the following. Academic writing. Reporting on research, okay? So, and even though I'm saying this is academic writing, this is the focus here, is it's reporting on research. So this is when we use effectively language regarding research, okay? Which one do you think is going to be the better option? Number 1. Number 1. And number 2. So number one, the hand washing practice of staff work observed by 4 members of the nursing staff during roster's shift. Number two, 4 members of the nursing staff observed the hand washing practices of staff during roster's shift. So here is reporting how something was done. What we want to know about here is, can you tell me what the subject should be? Which option is better? This is now a bit harder. I haven't told you what the subject is. But here you've got a choice. It's either about the 4 members or the hand wash. So if this is a research, you need to think about, okay, you need to think about, what do you think this research might be about? Is it about the 4 members, or is it going to be about the hand wash and the practice of using hand wash? So can you tell me what the subject should be? Is it for members of the nursing staff, or is it the hand washing practice? Okay, number two, once you've made your decision, let me know which option is better, number one or number two. And when you say number one or number two, let me know if you're using an active or a passive. Okay, and we'll see how you guys do. This is definitely a little bit harder, but once we've looked at it, the formula remains quite consistent. We're talking about, in this case, it's academic writing. It's reporting on research. So this is language that you would expect to see in research. Evelina says 2 is better for her. Marta says 1 is the subject, hand washing practice, and the sentence is passive. Alida agrees, subject, hand washing practice number 1, which is going to be the passive. Roberto's agrees. Okay, excellent, guys. So you're all correct here. Okay, so the answer is, the subject is going to be hand washing. We're going to be looking at number 1, which is a passive. So well done, guys. That's the correct answer. Well done there. Okay, so far I think it's looking pretty good. Now, let's say the question, okay, Marta's come in. This 2 is subject, is nursing, and then sentence is active. Yeah, so number 2, it is different. The subject is about the 4 nurses. Therefore, because it's about who rather than what, the sentence is active. But in this case, because we're reporting, this should be number 2. This is reporting on a research. Okay, let's look at the next one here. This could be quite a useful one. Okay, I'm going to write this in 2 ways, okay? Because they're the same question, but we need to think all the way through which is better. Okay, so A, reporting on why something was done. B, so which question is better to begin with, okay? And the second part to this is as follows. Okay, so on one hand, we've got and number 2. So this is the question, which option's better? Okay, so here you've got two parts to this question. First, you need to choose the better question, reporting on why something was done, or to answer the question why. And in the second part, you've got two sentences. Which question is better? Which sentence is better? So the group was designed to investigate into the climate change issue in the region, or number 2, we did this because climate change in the region is an issue. Which one do you think is better? Roberto has come in and said that A goes with 1, B goes with 2. Okay, which one is better? Is it A and 1, or is it B and 2? So in your case here, is it A and 1 or B and 2? Which is better? So you are right there, Roberto. A goes with 1, B goes with 2, but which one is the better one? Marta has come in and said 1A is the better option. Okay, well, in which case you're going, okay, a leader agrees as well. So you're all going for A1 at the moment, which is the passive. I'll give you guys just a little bit more time, Evelina. And okay, right, all of you agree here. Good, excellent, well done. And yes, you guys are correct. Correct. Okay, so the answer here is it's 1 and well, it's actually A and 1. So well done, guys. That is the correct answer here. Okay, we're now going to move on to the next one. This is going to be a little bit harder. Let's see if you guys can rewrite the whole sentence. The thing about this is I'm going to write all of this in the active. You guys need to rewrite the same sentences, but in the passive. Okay, let's see how you guys get on. Okay, let's see how you guys get on with this. let's see how you guys get on. So this is in the change. So you need to change the above into a passive, um, into a passive structure. Okay. I'm going to also give you some freedom. If you want to change certain verbs, for example, you can do. The thing is, you need to write the same thing in a passive, whereby you have the same meaning. But you need to think about the structure. You don't need to write the same number of sentences. If you can, if you think you can put two sentences together, you can do. So you are free to play around with this, with this paragraph. If you think you can shrink the paragraph, you can do so. If you want to link two sentences together, you can do so. If you want to change a verb, you can. What I'm looking for is, can you take this, put it into a passive, and it still has the same meaning? You're still saying the same thing. So this is probably one of the hardest things to do when you start trying to improve your English to a higher level. I mean, when you look at this, you've got present simple but mainly past simple sentences. So they're not difficult sentences. The difficult task is just turning a active sentence into a passive sentence, but then making sure it fits together. And that's where the difficulty is, because if you see a sentence on its own, as you guys have demonstrated, you can do it. You know how to do it. But when you've got it with other sentences, that's when it becomes a little bit more difficult. So make sure you have a good go at this. I'll give you some time to see how you guys do. I don't expect everybody to do it, but what I do ask is that if you're not sure what the answers are, wait for me to give you the answer at the end, and make sure you copy. Okay, so you have something as a reference in the future. I'll prepare my answer now, actually. Okay, so let's see how you guys get on. So Roberta says the problem is known to be the abuse of drug. You probably just need the S there, drugs. The problem was tackled. The problem was tackled by a team. By a team together. By a team. You could have just said like by a team or a research team. Most people have been found to be under the age of 25, and they have been found to be addicted to heroin. I think that's a pretty good go, to be honest. They have found, they have been found, they have found, they have been found to be addicted to heroin. Look, I'm going to say well done there, Roberto. I think that's a really good effort. Um, I think you've done a lot of things there that are correct. Um, Now, for the case of this exercise, we're turning everything into the passive. When you start writing, you'll eventually decide which sentences need to be active and which sentences need to be passive, because it doesn't always need to be passive. Certain things need to be passive, but not everything. Which is why I'm going to give you two answers in the end for this. Okay, so Martha says a problem is the drug abuse, and this was tackled. You just need the D on the end there by a team. The most people, just most. You don't need that there actually. Just go with most. Most people were under the age of 25, and they were mainly addicted to heroin, which was found, which, oh, so close, comma, which was found by the research team. So really, really close there, really, really close. So one answer you could go with, I'm going to give you one of my answers here. Okay. A team was put together to tackle the problem of drug abuse. It came to light that most people were under the age of 25, and addiction was mainly caused by the intake of heroin, for example. So that's one way that you could do it to make it all passive. A leader has said drug abuse is being a problem. You don't need being here. Um, we're not going to be able to turn that necessarily into a passive, which has gathered a team to tackle with it. Most people under the age of 25 are found to be addicted to heroin. So what I'm going to say there is the last sentence, Alida, is perfect. The first sentence we can probably change just a little bit. I would say I would go with this, okay? Just to make it, I would go with the passive at the beginning. So a team was formed to tackle the problem of drug addiction. That would say the same thing in less words, and it's more concise. So that would be my recommendation. Okay, if you ever wanted to go then with a mix, you could go with this. So the mixed version would be this. A team was created to tackle the problem of drug abuse. That's a passive. Their research found, that would be an active, that most people were under 25 and were addicted, back to passive, uh, were addicted to heroin. So that's a little mix of both passive and active. And that's what you could end up doing eventually, depending on how confident you feel and what you think the point of each sentence is. I want to say that really well done to all of you for trying to turn this into a passive, because the passive is more difficult. However, the, the the goal at the end is, when you are writing academic work, is not every sentence needs to be passive. Um, the exercise was getting you guys into thinking of how to turn sentences into passives sentences. But don't forget, just like we did at the start, not every sentence in an essay needs to be passive. Some need to be passive, some need to be active. And it's important that when we do decide, when we're trying to work this out, that we think about, okay, in this sentence, which one needs to be my subject? In this part of the sentence, does it need to be active? Does it need to be passive? So really well done, guys. I mean, look, the stuff at the end, we started off at a low level, and we have finished at a high level. So for those of you who might have found the end just a little bit difficult, please take a look at the answers, copy them down, and try and create them yourselves. Okay. I would say the destination, the goal at the end, is to achieve the mix, is to be able to do a mix. Okay, that's the goal at the end. Once you know how to do the mixing of the sentences between active and passive, then you've achieved a really high level. That's where we want to get to eventually when it comes to academic writing, for example. Like I said, not every sentence needs to be a passive. Sometimes it does need to be an active. But before we can really do it, we first need to make sure we know how to use the passive. And I think all of you had a really good go at it. So really well done. A big thank you, by the way, to Alida, Marta, Roberto, Arena F, Evelina, for participating in today's lesson. A really good job, and well done to all of you. And a big thank you to everyone else who was watching today. Please make sure you subscribe if you're new and like the video. I will be back tomorrow, same time at 3 o'clock, with another live lesson. Marta, you're welcome. Evelina, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Arena F, you too. Thank you very much, and have a good evening. Alida, have a good day as well. Keep safe. And Roberto, you too. Take care. Thank you very much, everyone, and bye for now.